Hello listeners, and welcome to our radio program, Accounting for Grade 8 Learners. My name is Natalia, and our topic for today is basic concept and terminology used in accounting. And this is our first topic for Grade 8. Please have a pen and a notebook ready to take important notes. And do not miss our quiz at the end of the lesson. You should be able to explain the terminology and concept in accounting. Each trade or profession or subject has its own specific terminology and concept similar to that. Each country has its own language and government that differs from others. So it is also in accounting where specific terms, words used for a specific rules or concept that guides the operation in accounting. In simple, accounting concept and terminologies are words or terms that can be used in accounting language. After today's lesson, learners should be able to define the term transaction, describe the concept of the following, which is source documents, assets, identify kinds of business activity, which are service business and trading business.
Hi Stone, do you still remember the homework teacher Victoria gave us?
Yeah, I remember. She said that we should study on what a transaction is, source document, assets, etc. But according to my understanding, I think a transaction is when something happened in the business between a buyer and a seller.
Wow, thank you Stone. Now I understand that an interaction between the buyer or a customer and a seller or the business is called a transaction.
You are really on the spot. A transaction is an action between two parties that involves money, which happen in a business at a certain time, of which value is recorded in the books of the business. For example, when your parents buy your school stationery from the stationery store and pay 500 Namibian dollars.
Okay. Meaning that the two parties are my parents and the stationery store. I can also see that money is involved. The 550 Namibian dollars.
You are quite correct, Stone. That's what we call a transaction.
A transaction is an action between two parties that involves money. Remember that your parents have paid 500 Namibian dollars. Hence, they need a proof of this payment.
When my mother came back from the furniture store, she brought the furniture and a piece of paper. I nearly threw away that piece of paper, so I guess it was a receipt, and she advised me not to throw it away. She stated that it's very much important to keep it as proof that she really bought the furniture from the furniture shop.
This document is referred as a source document. A source document is a written proof that the transaction took place.
You are both correct. When transactions are taking place in the business, we use different source documents depending on the transactions. Source documents are documents from which transactions are recorded in the business books, which serve as a proof for a transaction.
So far we have discussed what a transaction is, as well as what the purpose are for the source document. As Lumba's mother bought furniture, what do we call this in accounting? I know that there are things that belong to an individual or the business.
Thank you very much. You have relevant points. In accounting language, when we talk the concept asset, these are belonging or the possession of the business. Different businesses have different assets, just to mention a few. Some examples of assets includes cash. Now the cash includes the notes and coins that we find in the business. Equipment, land and building, inventory, which is also referred to as stock, and etc. Looking at the given example, we can comprehend that all the given examples are the belongings or the possession of the business. Things that belongs to the business can be used in the business either for a longer period of time, which is now fixed asset, or it can be used in the business for a shorter period of time, which is then current assets. In accounting, whatever belongs to an individual or business are called assets, which is the belonging or the possession of the business. Assets can be either fixed asset, which is example furniture, or we can say equipment, or current asset, for example, cash.
So, Miss, as you have said, that assets are property owned by a person or a business. So, like my mother owns her business and money at the bank.
Teacher, as far as I understand the definition of the term assets, I would like to know whether our school tables and chairs are also assets.
Yes, Tom, you are correct. Our school tables and chairs are also assets. In accounting language, we refer them to as equipment.
Miss, we have learned a lot today. It seems accounting is not challenging after all. As many learners used to say, I also discovered that there are two main kinds of business activities. These are service rendering businesses and trading businesses.
But I think service business is a business that generates income by providing service to the customer, while trading business is a business that sells goods to customers. Is it not so?
Marvelous. You have done a good job. Service business do not buy and sell goods or produce goods. Besides, they meet the needs of the customers by using goods to perform certain functions. A doctor provides service when they are examining patients, and a hairdresser provides service when they cut hair. A trading business buys goods with the intention of selling the same items of goods to other business or customers. A cave, for example, is an example of a trading business. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of our lesson, but before we go, let us summarize on what we have learned today.
Okay, Miss. I have learned a lot in this lesson. Transaction is the action, actually buying and selling of goods or rendering a service, which happen in a business at a certain time, of which the monetary value of such transaction is recorded in the books of the business. Is it not so? Source document is actually a written proof that the transaction has taken place. And assets, they are the belongings or the possession of the business. Items that are owned by the business, actually.
Well, I've also learned two main kinds of businesses. The first one is a service business, which is a business that renders services to the business or customers. For example, doctors or a hairdresser. Another is a trading business, which is a business that buys goods and sells the same goods at a high price with the intention of making a profit.
Before we say goodbye, here are your questions for today. Business entities have different transactions with their customers on a daily basis. Businesses must issue to their customer a source document to serve as a proof that the transaction took place. Here are the questions for you. What is meant by the term source document? Question 2. Define the concept asset. We have come to the end of our lesson today, and it was written by Victoria Nangobe. Goodbye, listeners. See you next time.
This program was brought to you by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture and the Commonwealth of Learning.